So hello, and today we're going to be looking at solving equations when there's a variable on both sides of the equation. So what this means is we've got an expression on the left, for example 7a plus 5, and we also have an expression on the right like 2a plus 55. Now we could guess the answer to this question by trying different values of a until we figured out one that worked for us. But the better way to do this is with the balance method. And the balance method means that whatever you do to the left, you do the same thing to the right hand side to keep it in balance. So if you add on 6 to the left, you have to add on 6 to the right. If you divide the left by 7, you have to divide the right hand side by 7. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. First of all, we'll look at the expression on the left hand side. The expression on the left hand side says 7a plus 5. That means if you knew what the value a was, you would multiply it by 7 and then you would add 5. So for most of these balance equations, you want to undo what you've done. So if you have 7a plus 5, you want to undo the adding 5. And the way you undo adding 5 is subtracting 5. So on the left hand side, we're just going to subtract 5 to undo that plus 5. However, if we subtract 5 from the left hand side, we also have to do the same to the right hand side. So on the left we have 7a, and then we've got rid of that bit, is equal to 2a plus 55 take away 5, which leaves us with 7a is equal to 2a plus 50. Now what we want to end up with in a balance equation is just a variable part on the left and just a constant part on the right hand side, which makes it very easy to answer the question at the end. So in this question, we have a variable bit on the right. We've got a 2a, which has been added to the 50, and I don't want that 2a to be on the right-hand side. So what I'm going to do, that 2a has been added to the 50, so to undo that adding of a 2a, we're going to subtract 2a. So we subtract 2a from both sides, and we'll see what we get. We end up with 5a is equal to 50. That means we've finally got to this piece that we know how to do. We know that 5 multiplied by some value a gives us the answer 50. And that in order to find out what that value a is, we're going to continue using the balance method and we're going to divide by 5. So 5 is multiplied by a. To undo that multiplying by 5, we divide the left-hand side by 5. If we divide the left-hand side by 5, we divide the right-hand side by 5, and we get our answer a is equal to 10. And of course, as usual, once you get your answer, you check it in the original equation. The original expressions were 7a plus 5. So let's see what we get when we put the value 10 in for a. We'll get 7 multiplied by 10 and add 5, which gives us 70 plus 5, which is 75. What about the other expression, 2a plus 55? If we put the value 10 in for a, we get 2 multiplied by a, 2 multiplied by 10, and add 55, so that's 20 plus 55, which is 75. So our two expressions are equal. They evaluate to give the value 75, so we're happy with that answer. We're happy that the solution to having those two expressions in balance is having the value a equal to 10. So the balance method is a much handier way of solving these rather than trying to guess an answer and hoping for the best. But remember, what we're doing all the time is we're undoing what we have. So when we have a plus 5, we undo that by subtracting 5. When we have a plus 2a, we undo that by subtracting 2a. When we've got 5 multiplied by a near the end there, we undo that by dividing by 5. So if we divide the left-hand side by 5, so 5a divided by 5 gives us back to a, and 50 divided by 5 gives us 10. So remember, whatever you do to the left, you do exactly the same thing to the right. So please do not start coming up with these ideas that you move things from one side to another. You never do that. You always do the same thing to both sides. If you have a plus 5 on the left, you get rid of it by subtracting 5, and you do the same thing to the right hand side. And whatever appearance that is fine, but just remember what you're doing. Okay, so have a go at those questions and the best of luck.